A live BBC World Cup broadcast, a packed stadium in Oslo, Norway, edging closer to history. And then, out of nowhere, Gabby Logan drops a joke at Wayne Rooney's expense. It happened during the last 3-2 clash between Norway and the Ivory Coast, a match already full of tension, noise, and late drama. But at halftime, with Norway leading 1-0, the BBC studio suddenly became part of the story. Because as the cameras cut away from the pitch and showed thousands of Norwegian fans celebrating wildly back home, Gabby Logan spotted the perfect moment. And Wayne Rooney, sitting beside her on live television, became the punchline. The joke was quick. The reaction was immediate. And by the end of the night, Norway had not only won the match, Erling Haaland had written another line into international football history. So, what exactly did Gabby say? Why did Rooney laugh? And how did Norway survive a dramatic late scare to set up a huge last-won-6 clash with Brazil? Let's break it down. At halftime, in Norway's World Cup knockout match against the Ivory Coast, the BBC Sport team were analyzing a game that had already given Norwegian supporters a moment to remember. Norway were 1-0 up thanks to Antonio Nusa's 39th-minute strike. The winger found space, took his chance, and sent his effort flying into the top right corner. It was the kind of goal that changes the whole mood of a knockout tie. On the pitch, Norway had the lead. Back home in Oslo, the reaction was explosive. BBC cameras cut to a packed screening at Ullevål Stadion, where Norwegian fans were watching together in huge numbers. The stadium was full of red shirts, waving arms, and pure World Cup emotion. The crowd erupted as Nusa's goal was replayed. Supporters bounced, cheered, and celebrated as if they were inside the stadium where the match itself was being played. And that was when Gabby Logan, live on BBC coverage alongside Steph Houghton, Benny McCarthy, and Wayne Rooney, turned the moment into a sharp studio joke. Watching the scenes from Oslo, Logan said, "They are loving it. A beautiful midsummer's night there in Oslo." Then she turned to Rooney and added, "It won't get dark tonight, Wayne. Your kind of place." Rooney laughed at the remark, taking it in good humor on live television. But online and among viewers, some fans quickly believed the line was a cheeky reference to Rooney's well-known love of partying. It was one of those live TV moments that came and went in seconds, but because it involved Rooney, because it came during a major World Cup broadcast, and because Gabby delivered it so casually, it immediately stood out. For Rooney, though, the focus soon shifted back to the football and to the atmosphere around the tournament. He said he had mentioned in previous games that he wanted to get out to these kinds of fan parks, making it clear the scenes in Oslo had caught his attention. And it was easy to see why. This was not just a normal watch party. This was Norway sensing that their team might be moving deeper into the World Cup. But the match itself was far from finished. Norway had the lead, the crowd back home had the belief, and the BBC studio had already delivered its viral moment. But knockout football rarely gives anyone a comfortable ending. The Ivory Coast pushed back. As the second half unfolded, Norway had to protect their advantage against a team that still believed there was a way back. The tension rose with every attack, every loose ball, every moment where one mistake could turn the whole match. And then came the equalizer. Amad Diallo struck for the Ivory Coast, leveling the game and suddenly changing the atmosphere completely. Norway had been in control. Now they were under pressure. The supporters in Oslo, who had been celebrating Nusa's opener so wildly, were now watching a match balanced on the edge. One goal either way could decide everything. And then, with the clock moving towards the final minutes, Norway's biggest star stepped forward. Erling Haaland, the Manchester City striker, was there when it mattered most. In the 86th minute, Haaland tapped home the decisive goal to make it 2-1. A simple finish on paper, but in the context of a World Cup knockout match, it was enormous. Norway were back in front. Oslo exploded again. The BBC studio had its storyline. Norway had their hero, and Haaland had another milestone. With that goal, Haaland became the fastest ever player to reach 60 international goals, reaching the mark in just 53 games. For a player already known for rewriting scoring records, this was another historic achievement. But more importantly for Norway, it pushed them into the last 1-6. The Ivory Coast had fought back. They had made Norway suffer. They had forced the game into a tense final act. But Haaland delivered the final blow. And just like that, Norway's World Cup journey continued. By full time, the story had several layers. Gabby Logan's sharp live joke at Wayne Rooney had given the BBC broadcast a memorable off-pitch moment. Rooney laughed it off, while fans quickly interpreted the line as a cheeky nod to his reputation for enjoying a night out. Antonio Nusa's first half strike had sent Norwegian fans wild in Oslo. Amad Diallo's equalizer had threatened to ruin the party. Then Erling Haaland, once again, arrived at the decisive moment, scoring in the 86th minute, securing a 2-1 win and becoming the fastest player ever to reach 60 international goals. Now, Norway move on to face Brazil in the last 1-6 with a place in the quarterfinals at stake. And that is where the story gets even bigger. Because Norway have momentum, they have belief, they have a fan base fully behind them. And most importantly, they have Erling Haaland, a striker who only seems to need one moment to change everything. But against Brazil, one question remains. Was this Norway's warning shot to the rest of the tournament? Or was it just the calm before their biggest test yet?